So I just opened up the jig. I'm gonna figure out how to mount it. I wanna make it removable, but I don't wanna put this big of holes into my workbench. So I'm gonna put it on a block, and the block I can just screw down. Like that. Now I can mount this to the edge here. There's nothing underneath to block it off. Gotta improvise. These shoulder bolts are too long for this board. I'm gonna stick a nut over it and then the threads will catch. What I got here, I'm going to use some wing nuts. Then I can bolt this down through the holes I just drilled. Put the wing nuts on the bottom. Use a couple washers. I just want to show you where there's a wheel, there's a way. And if you have DIY and you got a bunch of stuff laying around in your garage, you probably have the stuff to make something happen. So here's the bolts to bolt the jig on. And the jig is threaded. That's an Allen key. So you can see right here, I just threaded them up in there. And then we're gonna need an Allen wrench. Yep, first one. I got a bit for it. Can't find my bit holder right now. I'll just use a 1/4 inch. So the bits are 1/4 inch hex. So you can use a 1/4 inch hex chuck. Like that if you're ever in a bind. There. Worked in a pinch. I wouldn't suggest doing a whole project like that. But if you have to, you have to. So these are stems to fit your grinder. So we set this at 30 degrees. This is going to screw into the end of your grinder. And then when you put your blade on, the blade's going to be held at your angle, and then you're just going to run this up the blade. So you go under here, there's your degrees. You loosen the screw on top and you can see the slot. So that'll go up and down. That's 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm gonna do mine at 30. I do hit some rough stuff sometimes. My 18 volt grinder with the 18 to 20 volt DeWalt battery adapter. It's not a knockoff, it is DeWalt, it works great. 20 volt battery. So then the screw hole that your support handle goes in, I'll find out which of these posts screws in there. So it's that one. Next thing you want to do is loosen this up, slide it down, and you're going to put your blade in there. Line it up in the center. clamp it on there really good. Hope you can see how perfectly that runs right up the blade edge. It's nice. I'm gonna take the proper pin and put the nut on it that fits it. Run it all the way down. Then lock that nut down. Got to get it adjusted so it hits the blade right. Take that all the way out. Get your 3/4 wrench, at least for this one. Then run this bolt out. That'll be it right there, all the way at the end. I'm gonna clamp that down. So I'm gonna take this pin and I'm gonna slide it into here. And then I'm gonna just give it a test. You can kind of see where it's scraping. It's at the perfect angle. What I'm using is a flap disc on my grinder. It's a 4.5-inch grinder, 120 grit flap disc. Do a fantastic job. So let's get going. You want to get some glasses on. Don't mess around with these grinders. Wait till your grinder comes to a complete stop before you let go of it. Now this blade was bad. I'm gonna have to take a lot off. It's still a little stiff. It'll loosen up. I'll hit the burrs on the back. See that angle? It's pretty good. Flip it around. Line it up the same way. Clamp it down. Get busy. If you do this regularly, it won't take this long and you don't hit rocks and logs and stumps and crap like I do. Now we're going to go over to this magnetic balancer and check the blades for balance. Looks like it's pretty good. And just adjust it and make sure. If you don't have one of these balancers, they're great. You should get one. After this, I'm going to show you a blade that's not balanced and what it does. But this one is pretty good. You really don't get much better than that. I'm going to go ahead and show you a different blade that I free-handed when I sharpened it. I did use the flat disc grinder, but I free-handed it. I didn't use the jig. What you just saw was the first time I ever used the jig. But you can see here the right side's going down. That means that side is heavy. Try it from the other side. Still sinks. The balancer did its job. It's a nice edge on the blade, but it's a little bit out of balance, so I have to take a little bit more off the heavy side and then recheck. I used a flat disc, and then if you get yourself some type of balancer, maybe even a cone balancer where you just rest it on top, it's better than nothing. I don't really trust the nail method, especially with these Cub Cadet S blades. All right, guys, that's how you use the jig to sharpen your blade at whatever angle you want, and then you use a magnetic balancer to check your blade to make sure they're perfectly balanced so you don't mess things up on your mower. You know, these things go at a high RPM, so they can cause one heck of a vibration that'll tear up some spindles and bearings.